CVA gun, you know you got 'em bred to rights. With CVA, make it a muzzle loading day, and you'll be taking more game along the way. CVA.
Hi, I'm Bob Hickey, president of Connecticut Valley Arms. I thank you very much for your interest in the CVA products. For over 25 years, we've been providing the best value and the most accurate production rifle in the business. We also have super high value, high performance hunting accessories. I have with me today pros and fellow hunters, and for the next 50 minutes or so, we're going to have a video on successful muzzleloading. I have with me Tim Hart, co-host of North American Fish and Game, Randy Jernigan, the CVA Warranty Service Manager and an expert marksman, Chuck Seitz, professional biologist and manager here at Circle Inn Lodge, Bill Bynum, a professional hunter and writer, and Dave Meredith, one of our tech reps and a certified muzzleloading instructor. For the next several minutes, we're going to give you the basics on how to get started with your muzzleloader. This is from soup to nuts of everything it takes to get started. We're going to have 5 tips from the pros on help you to be successful in hunting, and some how-to and great hunting scenes. So, stick with us and we're going to get started.
You know, Chuck, I tell you what, shooting with this muzzleloader is going to be fantastic. And, you know, Bob, in talking with Chuck and in talking with a lot of guys out there, you know, there's a little bit of a fear of a muzzleloader. I've never shot it. How safe is the muzzleloader? And you and I were talking that a muzzleloader is as safe as any gun out there.
That's a very common question that we get at the factory and at all the shows we attend, Tim, and muzzleloading is a very safe sport. But like any of the hunting and shooting sports, the number one aspect of safety is up to the shooter. There are 2 basic things on safety for hunting and shooting and muzzleloading. There's the 10 commandments of shooting that we have all been brought up to know since we were little kids. On all that, if we have any questions, we should make sure that we call the factory and get to talk to some expert. Check with your buddies as to if you have any questions on the 10 commandments of shooting. You know, the 10 commandments of shooting, to refresh our memory, is pretty important to us from the aspect of safety. Always keep your muzzle pointed in a safe direction. That is a critical thing and the number one safety aspect of shooting. Know the target, and equally as important is what is beyond the target to make sure that we're shooting in a safe direction. Never rely upon the mechanical safety function of any gun, because if it's mechanical, it can break, and we shouldn't rely upon that as our safety aspect. Always assume that the gun is loaded. Never have a loaded gun until you're ready to shoot. So with a centerfire rifle or a shotgun, you never chamber a round until you're ready to shoot. Like you guys have here today on conventional shooting, is have ear and eye protection. The barrel has to be clear of obstructions to where if you have any debris at all in the muzzle of a gun, you'll blow the gun barrel. Guns and ammunition should be stored separately. Always avoid any alcoholic beverages and drugs before shooting and during shooting or hunting. And the critical important thing on a regular gun and all gun safety is don't alter any feature or function of the gun when you get it from the factory. And like we do in all aspects of our life, have the gun checked at least yearly to make sure everything is functioning properly. And those are kind of the 10 commandments of gun safety and hunting safety that we've all been brought up with since we were little kids.
Now, is there any difference between the safety aspect of a muzzleloader or a shotgun? Are there any keys for safety with a muzzleloader itself?
Well, there are some unique things that are particular to muzzleloading, and like you guys have here today, the warranty information booklet. One of the key things is the difference in terminology on a muzzleloader than any other gun. So you're talking about, you know, the nipple of the gun, or the breech plug of the gun, or the ramrod of the gun. You need to make sure you understand the unique terminology of a muzzleloader. And if you have any questions on the terminology as you read and study the information, you should call the factory experts and get some help. But again, some of the unique aspects just related to muzzleloading. Obviously, you have an exposed powder with a muzzleloader, so you should never smoke whenever you're handling any muzzleloader. You always need to use a small intermediate device from transferring the powder from the container to the gun barrel. So if there's any embers left in the barrel, you won't have a major explosion when you use a small intermediate device. You always keep the big powder flask and containers away from the shooting area. You have an acceptable little flask here that's okay on the shooting bench, but for the pound canister, you need to keep that back away from the shooting bench. You only use black powder or some acceptable synthetic substitute of black powder, such as Pyrodex. Now, black doesn't mean the color of the powder, it's the composition of the powder. And if you use modern smokeless powder in your muzzleloader, you'll have pressures that probably the muzzleloader is not geared to handle. So you always keep the gun uncapped. Don't put the percussion cap on it until you're ready to shoot. Always follow the recommended loading data from the factory. In the warranty book that we put out on our guns, we have a very comprehensive table on what the loading data should be. And there's a plastic poly patch that you should never use because the bullet or projectile sets on top of the poly patch instead of around it. Now, don't confuse the poly patch with a sabot, which is the plastic surrounding item on a projectile. A sabot is acceptable to use. A common thing that we all hear about is a muzzle-loading gun is still loaded after you take the percussion cap off because you still have the powder and the charge in the barrel, so you have to make sure you have all three components out before the gun is completely unloaded. On a muzzleloader, sometimes there's moisture in the barrel and you'll have a misfire or a hang fire. The hang fire, the gun will shoot kind of a couple seconds after the cap pops, but on a misfire, you need to make sure you treat that as if the gun can go off at any time. So be very careful. Wait several minutes to make sure that there's any flame dead before you proceed on. One of the common items that causes trouble is that the projectile is not seated all the way down on the powder. If there's any gap between the powder and the projectile, we call that short starting, and that is a safety hazard. And then the last thing is, you see in lots of the old films and everything, the hunters and the older people blowing down the gun barrel. That's a definite safety hazard. Don't blow down the gun barrel like your ancestor did, or you'll be an ancestor.
That's right. Well, and it's really a lot of common sense, like you're talking about. Don't smoke when you got powder out, and as with any gun, safety is key if you're out shooting. You know, just be safe.
That's right. The key thing is use good judgment, and remember that safety in any shooting sport is up to the individual person.
Hey Bob, how's it going?
Good, Chuck. How you doing?
All right. Man, I've been deer hunting with a gun and a bow for a long time, and I think it's time I get started in the muzzleloader. So I just went and bought a brand new CVA muzzleloader. I think I got all my accessories, but I need some help putting the gun together, and you showing me how to do it.
Well, let me clear off this a little bit, and we'll get you set up, and I'll help you out. All right. Brand new in the box.
Yep.
So let's take it all out so we make sure we got everything. You hold this and we'll take it out, the gun, the barrel, stock, instructions.
I bet I need to read that.
All right, here's a pretty important item. Right here in this black is the barrel retaining screw. You want to make sure we take that. You hold that. Allen wrench, breech plug, nipple wrench. Yep, it's all here. Just like you do with everything, the first thing you want to do on a gun is to make sure it's unloaded. And this may sound pretty funny coming from the factory, but safety first is the key thing. Always remember safety first. The gun's unloaded when the ramrod goes all the way down. Assemble the gun's pretty easy. Barrel with the trigger assembly into the stock. Barrel retaining screw. Get it started. Allen wrench. Safety first. Gun barrel is always pointed in the safe direction. Snug it tight. Okay.
Is that it?
Assembled. That's it to get the assembly part. Now, you want to make sure that all the functions work properly. That you know all the terminology. Ramrod goes into the slot. Bolt cocks back easily. The notch safety function. Slap it down, make sure it still is functioning properly. Trigger works. So all the functions work good, ready to go. Test the trigger, let it down, works okay. Now you want to disassemble it and put the breech plug grease on the nipple and the breech plug threads and clean the barrel. Disassembly is pretty easy. Use the same Allen wrench, take the barrel retaining screw out. Take you about a minute to do that.
All right, so you want to clean this gun as soon as you get it out of the box. After you put it together and make sure everything works, you want to take it apart and clean it before you ever shoot it.
Absolutely. Out of the stock, pretty easy. Now it's much easier also to take the trigger assembly out. The same Allen wrench fits into the two screws for the trigger assembly. Trigger comes off. The back spring retaining screw. The spring is in here under pressure, so you have it pointed away from you. Carefully disassemble it. Take the spring out. Take the cocking lever off. The bolt easily removes from the back. You have your breech plug and nipple combination tool. You take the nipple out first. Nipple out, lay it aside. Then use the other end to take the breech plug out. Couple of turns to get it started. Okay, it's out. Get you a cleaning patch and some solvent to clean the barrel. Now you can see all the way through with the breech plug out. That's a great thing about inline guns. You can see all the way through the barrel. You can tell that it's got a lot of grease in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's the factory grease to keep it from rusting in transit. The jag should have come with it in the box, so put the jag on your ramrod. Cleaning patch over it. It's pretty dirty for a brand new gun.
Yeah,
but
it
is. Easy process. Then to reassemble it, you do the same thing. Breech plug in here. Reassemble that. Oh, I forgot to put the grease on it, so I'll take it out and do the grease. Put the grease on it. Back in here. Put the grease on the nipple threads. Reassemble the nipple, easy. The bolt back in, keep it lined up so that the cocking lever goes there. Tip here is you close the bolt so you'll have less pressure on the spring when you reassemble it. Easy. Put the trigger assembly back together. The tip on this is to lightly start the threads until you get both threads going. Easy on that one. Going on that, then tighten them both snugly. Ready to go back into the barrel, into the stock. Barrel retaining screw. Okay, you're ready to start testing it out.
All right, so now we've cleaned it, reassembled it. Now I need to know about all these accessories.
That's right. Well, let me kind of get this thing organized and I'll go through the accessories and see if you have everything you need to start shooting your gun.
All right. Well, Bob, now that you've shown me how to take the gun apart, clean it, and reassemble it, I just bought this CVA muzzleloader and accessory kit. Is this everything that I need to get started?
Let me see what you have here, Chuck. Let's see, you've got loading, cleaning. Well, that's everything you need to do to get out shooting except the powder and the percussion caps, which I have here. I have some black powder and some Pyrodex as well as the percussion caps. The powder, as you know, has to be either Pyrodex or black powder. The loading booklet that you have there tells you what the acceptable powder load is. You use either RS Pyrodex or 2F or 3F black powder, and the booklet talks about that. The powder obviously is the powder charge, and the percussion caps goes on the nipple to get you started. Then from there you need the bullets, which are here.
Mm-hmm.
These are the Deer Slayer bullets, which will shoot good in your Staghorn gun. The Staghorn gun has 1 in 32 rifling, so these big conical bullets with a hollow base will shoot fantastic in there. You have the flask. You always pour from the powder can into the flask, into the powder measure, a small intermediate device. You remember when we were talking about safety, always on a muzzleloader, you use an intermediate device. A bullet starter, obviously to short start the bullet, and then you use your ramrod to seat the bullet completely on the powder charge. Your percussion capper to carry and dispense the caps. You always use the capper because pressure will explode the percussion caps, and it's a safety factor. So that's the basic loading accessories. You have 2 cleaning accessories here. You have the solvent and the cleaning patches.
Mm-hmm.
I showed you a minute ago about the cleaning jag that's with it. And then the other needs that you have to be completely in the woods functional, you have a bullet puller, a patch puller, and the preloaders. So you're all set, Chuck.
Hey Chuck, Bob sent me out here. You said you need some help?
Yeah, Bob taught me how to assemble the gun and clean it and get ready. I read all the warranty information. I watched the video. I think I know everything about it, but I was just wanting you to kind of walk me through this loading procedure.
Okay, great. Let's get started on it.
Safety is always first, Chuck. What you want to do is make sure that the gun is unloaded. You do this by sliding the ramrod down the muzzle of the gun. At this point, I always put a mark on my ramrod to know where it is unloaded. Next, you want to check your mechanical functions to make sure that everything's working properly. You don't want to have a problem once you've loaded the gun. Next, you want to clean the bore and the barrel out for maximum performance. You do this by putting a little bit of solvent on a patch, running the patch down the barrel. Next, you want to fire 2 or 3 percussion caps. This makes sure that there's no moisture down in the barrel. Now measure your powder from the flask into the powder measure. Then pour it from the powder measure into the barrel. I always put the ramrod back in the muzzle and mark it again. I do this as an alternative to putting the bullet in and marking it. I know exactly what step I'm at. Now, insert the bullet, make sure it's centered in the crown. Use a short starter to push the bullet in a little further. Then the long starter, that pushes it down into the muzzle. Now take your ramrod, put your hand about 6 to 8 inches above the muzzle with the ramrod and push the bullet in so that you don't deform it. Okay, now make sure it's pushed tightly against the powder charge. You don't want to do a short start. That'll make the barrel balloon out. Okay, we're ready to put a cap on it. Point it in a safe direction. Now you're ready to fire.
Hey Chuck, how you doing?
All right, Randy, how are you?
Good, good.
Well, I got my new Staghorn, new scope mounted on it. Dave showed me the proper loading procedures. Wondering if you could help me get it sighted in.
I think we can do that. Well, Chuck, with any endeavor involving a firearm, safety is first and foremost. We've started with an unloaded gun, and we're here at the Circle Inn Lodge's rifle range. It's an approved range. We know that our backstop is safe. We know what's beyond our backstop. So I think we're ready to get this thing sighted in. I see you've elected to mount a scope on your new Staghorn rifle. That's a real good feature. It's one of the nice features of the inlines. They all come drilled and tapped for easy mounting. If you mount the scope yourself, you should bore sight it before you begin to sight it in. You can do that with a mechanical culminator. Usually any gun shop or sporting goods store that you purchase your gun and scope at will generally mount them for free or for a very small charge, and they'll bore sight them for you. That notwithstanding, you can remove the breech plug and cap and put your rifle in a rest and culminate the scope onto the target at 25 yards, matching what you see down the barrel to your scope. This will get you started, it'll get you on the paper, and get things ready to roll for you so that you don't waste too many shots to get this thing sighted in. We're going to begin our sighting in at 25 yards. This gets us on the paper quickly because of the closeness of the target, and that way we won't waste too many shots to be able to find our point of zero. We'll always shoot in 3-shot groups and adjust our scope to the center of each one of those groups. We want to sight it in at 25 yards, and with the load that we're using, we want it approximately 4 inches high at 25 yards. This should get us pretty close to a 100-yard zero. Now we've shot a 3-shot group at 25 yards. We want to clean between each one of these groups. That keeps the fouling down and keeps our velocities approximately the same each time so that the shots don't rise and fall because of a change in velocity. We're going to repeat this process until we're sighted in at 25 yards. We're going to move our next target out to 50 yards and repeat it again. Then we'll move out to our zero range that we'd like to hunt at, and that's going to be a 100-yard zero for us. Chuck, have you got any questions on this? Okay, let's get started. Okay, Chuck, you'll see that that group is off to the right. So let's take and adjust our scope, bring that shot group to the left,
right,
following the scope manufacturer's instructions.
Okay, we've got left to right. Now how up and down? Where do we need to go?
Now about 4 inches high for our 25-yard group.
Okay. That ought to about get it.
Good. Okay, let's clean this between groups and we'll get ready to fire our next grouping.
Okay.
Well, Chuck, I think that's just right. We're about 4 inches high. We've got the windage just right. Let's go ahead and move it out to 50 yards.
I think it looks good. We'll try it.
All right.
Randy's looking pretty good through this scope.
I'll tell you, through the spotting scope, this is excellent. You were right on the money at 100 yards. It just goes to show you how accurate these muzzle loaders can really be.
I'm very, very impressed. Thanks for the help.
You bet. A good tip on this, Chuck, is that we've sighted this in just like you're going to want it for your hunting conditions. We've let the barrel cool between shots. We've cleaned it between shots so that you're going to start out in your particular condition with a clean barrel. So we've tried to match those conditions to keep this thing just as accurate as we can when we get out there after that trophy buck.
Thanks a lot, Randy.
Let me show you a quick 4-step method to clean this so that we can have a good clean barrel between groups. Okay, number one, the first thing that we need to do, even though we've just fired the rifle, we're going to put a ramrod down the barrel and be sure this thing is not loaded. The last thing we want to do is look down the barrel of a loaded muzzle loader. All right, secondly, we want to attach the cleaning jag that came with the rifle onto the ramrod. Then we're going to take a patch, soak it with some solvent. We're going to center it over the bore, swab the bore out, alternating wet patches and dry patches until they come out clean. And Chuck, this is the same field cleaning procedure that we would use with any muzzle loading gun, regardless of whether it's the new inlines or the side lock style rifles. It's all the same. doing, guys?
Hey Randy, how's it going?
Good.
We've been shooting today and getting ready to clean up and wondering if you could give us a hand.
I'd be glad to. What are you shooting here today?
Well, I'm shooting a Bobcat traditional sidelock gun.
How about you, Chuck?
I got a staghorn.
Bill, what are you shooting today?
I got the new Firebolt.
Well, these guns are all a little bit different. Let's take them one at a time here. Chuck, why don't you let me sit down here and we'll get Dave started first. Well, Dave, to get started, we're going to need a little bit of equipment. One of the handiest things is a good bucket of water to start this out with. We're going to need some cleaning solvent, obviously some patches, and our cleaning jag that came with our rifle. Well, when we get started, the first thing we have to do is be sure of safety first. Let's take the ramrod out and we'll check it, put it down the barrel, be sure that we don't have a load inadvertently left in the gun. The next step is to remove the barrel from the stock. We do this simply by just taking the wedge, tapping the wedge out here with a screwdriver and separating the barrel and the stock. We'll put the hammer on half cock. Now we need to remove the lock and the nipple. This will give us an opportunity to be able to clean all the way through the rifle and give us a good cleaning job. This is going to be put away for the season, so this will be a little more thorough than we would do in the field. One thing that we have to be sure of is that we don't try to ever remove the bolster or the breech plug. On a sidelock gun, this will void the warranty and create all kinds of unsafe conditions. We need to leave those in place at all times, not altering them in any way. Next, let's go ahead and take the bolster cleanout screw out. We'll just put the bolster end of the gun in the barrel of water. Now we'll center a patch over the bore and push it down with our cleaning jag on our ramrod, scrubbing it back and forth several times to be sure that we loosen all of the fouling up. I like to follow this up with a little bit of bore blaster solvent. This gets a real thorough cleaning job, and we need to have this extra clean because we're going to put it away for a long period of time and it might be a while before we look at it again. Now let's take all of these small parts, the lock, the bolster screw, and the nipple, and we'll put them in the bucket of water and let them soak for a few minutes. This will loosen all of the fouling up. Now we'll take our brush from our Essentials cleaning kit and we'll put a little bit of solvent on it, bore blaster solvent on it. This will really loosen up the fouling and scrub it very well. And let's rinse these parts off. Now let's begin the reassembly process. It's just in reverse order. We replace the nipple back in the bolster. Tighten it with our nipple wrench. Return the screw for our bolster clean out. We return the lock back to its original mortise. Now we'll reinstall the screw, making sure that we put the washer back in place. With the rifle on half cock, we replace the button of the patented breech in the tang, rotate it forward. The barrel is reinstalled. We fix it with the wedge. Then we'll reinstall the wedge. Just using our plastic screwdriver, we'll tap the wedge back in. And lastly, returning the ramrod back to the stock. Check it for function. And our cleaning's complete.
Okay, Randy, thanks. I think that's got it.
Good. Now let's go ahead and turn our attention to the staghorn and Chuck's gun.
Okay.
All right, Randy, why don't you show me how it's done?
Certainly. The first thing we do is be sure that there's no cap on the nipple. We see that it's clear. Next, we have to check the rifle to be sure that there's no load. We do that with the ramrod, placing it in the barrel, and we see that it goes all the way in. So there's no load in this one. The next thing we'll do is take the wrench that came with the rifle, our Allen wrench, and we'll remove this screw. This is the barrel fixing screw. This will separate from the barrel action. Okay. All right. Now, we see that this is still under pressure, so we need to slowly ride the bolt home. Next, we'll remove the end cap. Be careful now, this still has some spring pressure under there. We want to point it in a safe direction. Remove the end cap. Remove the spring. You notice that the spring has an end. We'll have to remember that when we reinstall it. Remove the bolt handle. Remove the bolt. Next, using our Allen wrench, we take out these two screws, and this will remove the entire trigger group. That removes the entire trigger group. Now we use the breech plug wrench, nipple wrench combination that came with the rifle. We'll break the nipple loose. Next we remove the breech plug. We take the nipple out. Using our handle to loosen it up. Now we simply unscrew the breech plug. And it comes right out of the rifle. Now you can see that we've got an easy pathway to clean right through the whole gun. This makes them so much simpler to use. We'll clean it. First, we're just going to use CVA barrel blaster solvent. Excellent, excellent at cutting the fouling and any of the buildup that we've had from our days of shooting here. And then we'll dry patch it. After that, let's just go ahead and reverse the procedure and reassemble the rifle. Is just in pretty much reverse order. We put the breech plug in, using our tool. We reassemble the breech plug into the barrel, and it should be good and snug, but not so tight that we are going to damage anything. Next, we'll reassemble the nipple. Here again, using a little bit less torque than we used on the breech plug. After that comes the bolt. Lining up the hole. Be sure that you have the knurled end out on the operating rod handle. An important point is, be sure on the staghorn gun that the pointed part of the spring goes forward. Next, we'll reinstall the cap. That just goes on finger tight. We'll pull the operating rod handle back, put it on safety. The next thing we'll install is the trigger group. Back screw first. Here's a little helpful hint, a little tip. You'll tilt this end forward. It's very difficult to see. And then you use your wrench here again. Snugging these down, but not making them too tight. Just snug. You do not want to crush the small washers. We'll check for function. Excellent. Reassemble it to the stock. Using the barrel fixing screw and our wrench. Make this one good and snug. Reinstall the ramrod. Completed. There you go, Chuck. That wasn't too bad.
No, Randy, thanks a lot. That was a real easy process.
Good. Okay, Bill, bring that firebolt over. You're next.
Okay, Randy, here's my firebolt.
All right. Well, of course, safety first, Bill. The first thing we do is check to be sure that it doesn't have a cap on it. We'll remove the ramrod just to ensure that we don't have a load in it. Now we can begin the cleaning process. Bill, with the new bolt action rifles, we have the option of cleaning the gun with the barrel in the stock or without. We can actually remove this bolt and we don't have to take the barrel action out of the stock if we desire not to. The next thing we're going to do is remove the internal parts of the bolt. We'll use the wrench that came with the rifle and we'll put the Allen end in here and we'll just unscrew the bolt cap. Now we have to take a little extra care with this because this cap is under some pretty good spring pressure. We want to point it in a safe direction and be sure that it doesn't get away from us. All right, after we remove the cap, we take the bushing off of the back. You'll see that it's completely easy to take apart. The spring comes out, the striker assembly comes out, and the entire bolt handle removes right from the bolt body. Now all we have to do is soak this in some solvent and begin to scrub it and clean it so that we can start the reassembly process. Now, Bill, this one cleans just like the Staghorn and other CVA inlines from this point forward. We go ahead and use the combination tool to remove the nipple and the breech plug, cleaning the barrel, making sure we apply a little bit of grease to it and just reassembling that point. So we'll just look at this reassemble of the bolt from this point forward. Now that we've completed cleaning the bolt parts, let's go ahead and reassemble the bolt. We take the bolt body and begin to assemble the parts on it. We put the bolt handle on, we put the striker back in. Let's go ahead and put the striker spring back in. Now we're going to put the cap back on. This becomes just a little tricky. Now here's a good tip, Bill. Let's go ahead and just start this end cap on about 3 turns. This will keep it from having the complete pressure of that spring on the striker assembly. Let's twist the bolt body and the striker in opposite directions like this. That'll take some of the pressure off so that we can go ahead and snug this cap right down. Now we have it in the cock position and the bolt is completely reassembled. All we do now is just slip the bolt back into the receiver, tighten down the bolt stop screw, check it for function, and we're in business. Well, there you go, Bill. That wasn't too bad, was it?
Randy. Really appreciate that.
Okay. And one other thing that I didn't mention, but I think it goes without saying, you need to oil these guns down very well. And another good tip is when you're storing them, be sure that you don't store them under spring pressure, not in a cock position. And it's a good idea to store the barrels down so the oil doesn't leach back into the actions or in the side lock guns back down into the bolster assemblies while they're being stored for a long period of time.
Dave, I think I've got a firm grasp on the basics, but what kind of equipment upgrades are available that'll make my CVA muzzleloader more accurate, more reliable, and easier to use?
It's a good question, Chuck. I see you've already upgraded by putting a scope on when using our see-through mounts. A lot of states don't allow us to use a scope. We do have a micro-adjustable sight, which you can use with your scope mounts or without. It is adjustable. Runs about $30. Next, we have the new illuminator sight, which is a fiber optic sight. This is great for low light areas or days when it's cloudy. It sells for about $40. This is really a good sight set.
That is going to make this CVA muzzleloader more accurate.
Definitely. Chuck, we have two products that make your gun a little more reliable. The Perfect Nipple, which is a new design, has 100% of the fire funneled into the breech of the gun. They sell for about $5. Chuck, we also have the shotgun primer adapter, which fits in the inline guns. And this sells for about $40. It's not legal in all states, but where it is legal, it'll give you a hot ignition. Chuck, we have three things that really make your gun easier to use. One is the swivel studs for about $14. This is going to make your gun a little easier to carry and take with you. Next, we have the breech plug nipple grease. This is going to make it a lot easier to remove the breech plug and nipple and keep your gun clean. I think that sells for right around $5. Next item is our cleaning essentials set. Now, I know you already have some of these things, but it has the brushes in it, more cleaning patches, and more of the barrel blaster solvent, and you will need these. It sells for right around $20.
Well, Dave, this gun shoots excellent straight from the factory, but I can really see where these upgrades will make it a lot more fun to shoot.
Great, Chuck. Go at it.
Hi Chuck, how you doing?
I'm all right, Randy. I just got a brand new CVA Staghorn, and I don't know anything about muzzleloading accuracy. How can I get the best accuracy out of this gun? Have you got any tips for me?
Well, I think I got a few tips that might help you out a little bit. This CVA Staghorn is a fine little rifle, and they shoot very well. But the first thing we want to do is be sure that the scope is all tight, and it seems to be tight. Let me see the bullets that we're shooting.
All right.
We want to be sure that the base of the bullet's not damaged at all. They get that way in shipping occasionally, and that's the steering end of the bullet. The other thing, we want to make sure that we inspect the crown and be sure that there's no dents or nicks in the crown. That'll definitely affect your accuracy. All right, Chuck, after we've looked that stuff over, then we got our target set up at 25 yards. We'll shoot some 3-shot groups. We'll adjust the scope into the center of those groups, move it out to 50, 75, and then we'll finish up at 100 for a hunting range, and that will give you some excellent accuracy with this rifle. And lastly, the finest tip is you can lap the bore with a lead plug, and that will bring the bore up to a mirror finish, and that really puts the crowning touch on the accuracy of these rifles.
This is Mexico. It's supposed to be nice and warm down here. I could go back home and never have to pack a bag today. I got everything I own on it.
Bob, I tell you, that's unbelievable to find this kind of deer, and especially in Mexico with a black powder gun. Boy, you've had some great success. I tell you, it's hard to believe that you killed 3 deer that'll make the record book this year and kill them all with a CVA muzzleloader. That's pretty good. That you killed 3.
A good gun, that's what it's all about.
Well, I tell you, congratulations on a great hunt. I
Appreciate it. Randy, what are you doing? The season's been over a couple, 3 weeks here. You got paper and pencil and bullets and everything. What's going on?
Now, this is my new CVA Firebolt, 1 in 32 twist, a new bolt action rifle, and I'm just getting familiar with my new rifle.
Yeah? Why are you doing that? You're an expert marksman. I've seen you shoot. You can go out there with 125, 150 yards with your muzzleloader paper. Why are you doing all this?
Well, Bob, each gun shoots a little bit different. And I'm working up my loads, shooting the 2 different bullets. I'm shooting the sabots and the Deer Slayer full bore bullets, checking the drift, checking the drop, seeing how the gun shoots between being a clean barrel and between having some fouling in it.
What are these charts for?
Well, this is my information. I just write this down so that I've got something to rely back on to be able to see how this particular gun shoots opposed to some of my other CVA rifles.
Now, whenever you're out here at 25 yards, what are you sighted in for at that range compared to your hunting range?
Well, my hunting range, my finished hunting range is 100 yard zero. So I usually sight it in about 4 inches high at 25 yards. It depends, it varies somewhat. That's what the paperwork's for.
So bottom line, why are you doing all this practicing?
Practice. I only get 1 shot at that trophy buck, and I want to know what this rifle's going to do, what it's going to do with the bullet that I've chosen, and how it's going to perform, what kind of wind effect it's going to have on it. I'm only going to get 1 shot for that season, and I'm going to make it count.
Bright and early the next morning, outfitter and guide George Tallman, along with hunting guest Don Blanton, started early on their search for the elusive elk. Well, after spotting some movement, Don and George move in for a closer look to search for a mature bull. What they find is a herd of cows and a couple of young bulls. But then, George spots a keeper off in the distance. But the problem is trying to figure out how to stay downwind, yet get in front of the bull without spooking the herd. So George decides to circle back around on the other side of the ridge. And after a couple of hours, they're able to cut the distance more than 3/4 of the way. But Don and George cannot move any closer. For now, the bull is moved into the open. George determines it is a good bull. It's now or never.
He'll be ready, but let's go right up on it. Good job, buddy. He's a good one, Don. Isn't he? All right.
Oh, he's a beautiful animal.
Nice, boy.
God, he's pretty. He's pretty.
Good shooting, guy.
Thank
that
you,
was a
man.
good shot.
Thank you.
You did a great job.
Randy and Bill, you guys have been around muzzleloading a long time. You go to a lot of trade shows and do a lot of shooting out on the range. And Bill, you're a professional hunter and writer. You hear all this stuff, old wives' tales and stuff about a muzzleloader, but what are some of the common myths on a muzzleloader?
Yeah, Bob, you know, a lot of people ask me all the time, can you overload a gun? And the answer is yes, because like any gun, you can put too much powder in it, and that's going to create higher pressures, which the gun may not take. I've heard people talk about, well, what happens if you put two projectiles in it? Same thing, you can overload it with 2 projectiles. So my suggestion is pay attention when you're loading a gun to what you're doing.
And on a muzzleloader, the easy way to pay attention is you mark your ramrod to see whether or not you've got double loads or too much powder in it.
That's 100% correct.
So what's another myth that you hear out in the field quite often?
Yeah, one is the gun really unloaded if I remove the percussion cap or the powder from the flash pan, yes, the gun's still loaded because you have a lethal charge still in the barrel. And that's one of the things that we should always check on, because anytime the gun is loaded is potentially dangerous.
That's right, and a gun is not unloaded until you have the percussion cap, the bullet, and the powder out of it.
That's
you leave
correct.
any of those in there, it's still a loaded gun.
All three of them makes it loaded.
Any other myths that you hear out there?
Stainless steel guns, Bob. People ask me all the time, do you have to keep a stainless steel gun as clean as you do a blued gun? And the answer is yes, because stainless steel gun can create a surface rust which will affect your accuracy just like it would with a blued gun. So my suggestion is taking a stainless steel gun and treating it the same as you would a blued gun.
Because if you want the maximum accuracy and performance from your gun, it needs to be clean.
That's right.
That's good, Randy. Did you hear anything that whenever you're out on the range or at some of these trade shows?
Well, probably one of the most dangerous ones, Bob, is that a powder, because it's black in color, can be used in a muzzle-loading gun. We know that the color has nothing to do with it, actually. It's the composition of the powder. Modern powders are often black in color, but are based with nitroglycerin or nitrocellulose powders, and those are made for modern guns. It should never be introduced into a muzzleloader. You have to use genuine black powder or a synthetic counterpart that's approved by the company to be used. And never store your powders in the containers that they, in any container that it did not come in. And never mix powders, and never place them from one container to another so that you would become confused. This would create a very dangerous situation where you'd introduce a powder that is not recommended for a black powder gun.
Anything else did you hear at the show?
Well, probably one of the more colloquial ones is the fact that a longer barreled gun shoots farther than a shorter barreled gun. This is something that was kind of left over from the Kentucky rifle days, when they felt that the longer barrel was necessary to make a gun shoot farther. It has a lot to do with the sighting plane of a rifle, but it has very little to do with the actual ability of a rifle to be able to fire a greater distance. And especially in today's guns, where we have many rifles that are drilled and tapped for scopes, that virtually makes no difference whatsoever.
Now that you know the answers to some of these common myths, you should be able to improve the performance with your muzzle-loading gun.
January is peak of the rut in central Alabama. Buckmaster's Jackie Bushman is on a stand location near a fresh scrape when a nice 8-point shows up. Let's watch the action.
Right. Look at this buck here. Boy, boy, boy. Good 8-point. Man, I am still shaking. I tell you what, that was the biggest cat and mouse game. I could hear him coming off the ridge right there, and I could see him real good. Couldn't get an open shot. He was just walking right through the hardwoods right there. There's a lot of trees. Then he got on the edge of the green field, and I knew he had to come to the right before I could get a good open shot at him. Well, he kept on moving down, and I had to whistle at him. I whistled at him, and when he stopped, there was still some limbs in front of him. Couldn't get a shot at him. And I'm sitting there holding the scope. I'm shaking. I'm breathing hard. I'm doing everything a deer hunter does out there. And then he finally moved on, and I whistled at him again, and I made one good shot. And like I said, I was watching the smoke clear, and I wasn't sure what happened, but this is a great 8-point.
That's a pretty good shot. What was he at?
About a ½ inch to the right.
Yeah. Randy, why do you have all the equipment over here on your side? Don't you share these days?
Oh yeah, I'm glad to share my equipment. This is all the stuff that I use on the bench. I'm just out here practicing. I've got equipment that, for all my cleaning, I've got the ball starters, I've got the flask, the things that I wouldn't normally carry in the field, where I would have, for example, a full pound of powder. That's something you'd never carry in the field. But I'm just getting used to this new rifle.
I see. So everything that you need to clean and shoot your gun is there in your toolkit?
Sure. I bring all this. This is my range box. I'll have my screwdrivers and to make any adjustments to my new fiber optic sights or any of that thing.
Are you sharing that stuff with Bill? I don't see anything for you.
Oh, certainly, Bob. I'm glad to share. But this is all of my equipment for the range. This is my range box. And with this, I would bring things to the range to get my rifle sighted in that I wouldn't necessarily have to take with me in the field. I have my capper, my full-size capper, my powder measure, my flask, my short starter, and all my array of cleaning equipment, my screwdriver for adjusting my sights, anything that I would need for bench shooting.
I see. So you say you would share, but you don't have to. Does that mean Bill has different type of equipment?
I think Bill's pretty well self-contained.
Bob, I got everything I need right here with my speed loader. I have my pre-measured charge. I have my short starter for starting my bullet. In my other pocket, I have my capper. I've already got my rifle zeroed in. I'm self-contained.
So you're practicing making sure your equipment's in the right place. Randy's practicing to know his gun capability. It's the same function of the accessory, but for a different purpose.
That's right.
I'd seen a bunch of big bulls earlier in the morning, and then I saw this big bull up on the top of the ridge. We decided to go after him.
Up there. Come here. Look up on that ridge. Where? Over there. Where is it? I can't see it. There he is. I got him. I got him. Okay. Hold on. All right. I'm having a hard time seeing him, Bill. He's right behind that brush. How far is he? Let me use a rangefinder to see how far he is, Keith. It's 128 yards, Keith. Do you want me to back you up or not? No, I want you to just watch. You just be ready.
Thank you. Thanks a bunch. What a challenge. What a challenge to do it with a black powder rifle.
Yeah, gee.
How much do you think that thing weighs?
Probably 350 live weight.
350 pounds.
Yeah.
And he only went, what, 30 yards or so?
30 yards.
50
down.
caliber
Yes.
Apollo. Did him in.
If you want to take that trophy buck of a lifetime, you have to get out in the woods in the off season and practice. Just like any professional athlete, you spend more time practicing than doing the actual hunting situation. Practice simulated hunting with all the clothes on makes it much more effective. Practice picking out the deer out here and slowly coming up with the gun and taking the shot. And then practice your reloading technique to make sure that you have that finishing shot whenever you take that first shot on a trophy whitetail deer. Now watch this. I'm going to practice like I'm seeing the animal. Come up slowly with your gun so you won't spook the animal. On your second shot, you need to practice to where you become proficient with it and where you can get this done inside of 30 seconds. Because you have to be able to take that shot in case you have a wounded animal in less than 30 seconds. After I practice some and get proficient, I can do this in less than 20 seconds, and that's when I know I'm ready to get back out in the woods for that trophy of a lifetime. But until you can get it done in less than 30 seconds, you're not ready to go take that trophy of a lifetime. That's what it's all about. Practice, practice, practice in your simulated hunting conditions with clothes, reloading, all the equipment and everything.
In any deer country, optics are a must. They enable you to observe all game at close range. As you can see, the rut is close at hand. What better time to be on a primitive weapon hunt in this deer-infested Texas hill country?
Yeah, well. You know, trophies in the eyes of the beholder. And I tell you what, I didn't hesitate to shoot that deer. This was the last day we had to hunt.
Harold Knight took that buck using the new CVA AccuBolt Pro.
Well, guys, I really appreciate the help today. I have learned a lot about my muzzleloader, but what can I count on from CVA to help me out in the future?
Well, Chuck, customer service guys are there during the hunting season, 5.5 days a week. We'd be more than happy to answer any questions over the phone for you, get you any supplies you need. We can get them out within 2 days.
And Chuck, all the CVA's guns are backed up by a full mechanical lifetime warranty. And in the rare event that you'd ever need to have anything done to that gun, we can turn that back around for you in 5 business days.
Well, guys, I couldn't ask for anything more out of this CVA muzzleloader. It's reliable. It was fun shooting today. I appreciate the help. I can't wait to get started hunting next year. I'm looking forward to taking my first whitetail with this gun.
Well, guys, this has been a lot of fun. I think the video on successful muzzleloading will be very informative and helpful to everybody who's just getting started in muzzleloading. What are some of the things that you guys have learned?
Well, I learned a lot from the video today, but I really learned the most by marking the ramrod so I would know where I was in the loading procedure.
I think it was very important that we showed where the screw and the wedge was stored in the black styrofoam. Now the customers will know where to look for it.
Bob, I really enjoyed the segment of your whitetail hunt in Mexico where you took that big trophy buck with the new Firebolt rifle. That long shot really demonstrates the capabilities of these new rifles.
Bob, what really helped me was when Randy showed me how to lean the screw in the front part of the trigger mechanism on the Firebolt.
Well, I think it's important that people remember that before they go out during the season, that they get their gun checked by a gunsmith every year.
Guys, I appreciate you sharing your tips with us in making us a successful muzzleloading hunter. Muzzleloading is a fantastic sport. It's fun, safe, and challenging. It lets you spend more time in the woods and gives you the opportunity to take that trophy of a lifetime. If you want to get started in this fantastic sport, check with your local sporting goods dealer or call us on our tech line we'd be happy to help you. Until I see you in the woods, good hunting, keep your powder dry, and remember, CVA, best for the buck.